What's up, guys? Welcome to MTAGTV. This is Shivang, and today we are in conversation with Charles Dagnall. Charles, it's an absolute honor to have you on the show. How's it going?
Yeah, it's lovely to be on the show and to be invited. Don't get a great deal of opportunity to speak to the Indian audience, not as I'd like to anyway. But no, all is well. You can see behind me. I'm going to show you actually. I'm here in the centre of London, which is not usually where I am. I'm actually based in the countryside up near Leicestershire. But I've been working down in London for BT Sport, covering the Sri Lanka versus West Indies Test series. It would be far nicer to be in Antigua covering the Sri Lanka West Indies Test series, but just sort of sitting in a voiceover booth, which has got no windows, and basically you sort of start. At the beginning of the day, so welcome, and you're going to sort of say, welcome to Antigua, with knowing full well you're in a windowless room. And then you've got to hand it over to Ian Bishop on commentary in Antigua, and then you sort of put the microphone down and you go, oh, that's a bit disappointing. And then you sort of watch the cricket and do all the links and stuff like that. So that's why I'm down here in London. In this, because of coronavirus, hotels are closed at the moment.
Right.
They don't reopen until whenever. And so the hotel has got a block of flats next to it. So instead of a fairly mundane hotel room, actually in this high-rise, very, very swanky-looking apartment, I feel like I should be on Wall Street or something like that with a place like this. But anyway, that is where I am, a long-winded way of saying where I am. So you join me in this sort of executive type of flat, which is totally not mine. So there you go.
Well, not so exotic, but we have you on the show, and that's all that matters. So it's an honor.
I'm very pleased to be on. Very pleased to be on.
Right. So just to start things off, I'm going to start off with a very basic question for you. Tell us how you got into the sport, your love for the game, and some of your earliest memories.
Oh, goodness me. Well, there's two answers to this, really. Firstly, I wasn't very good at anything else. I was a sports nut, because over in the UK, you know, there is such a wide range of sports that you can possibly get into. You know, big football, rugby, cricket, of course, tennis and golf, and you name it. There's lots of different opportunities, which I love. I love that there is opportunities for kids to sort of go into whichever direction they feel. They've got a chance to try lots of different sports and find the one that they have a passion for. And I also think, just moving at a tangent, that a wide range of sports actually help in the sport that you dedicate yourself to. So you look at someone like Sam Billington, who's a great hockey player and tennis player and things like that. And I think those other aspects of sport can actually assist in your direction, in your chosen direction. But it was two things, really. One, I liked being outside, but I also liked being outside in the warm weather. I didn't like the cold. As much as I loved football, and I was a pretty reasonable striker at school, I was the big man up front, if you like. And I loved it, and I enjoyed the contact of a bit of rugby and stuff, but I wasn't very good, you know. But as soon as I got down to my local club, probably around about 9 or 10 years old, went down to my local club, where I just, you know, there was lots of kids in the summertime playing. It was a nice feeling, a nice atmosphere, and I realised that I had an aptitude for bat and ball, good hand-eye coordination, and that's where the love started. Just hearing the sound, the crack of bat on ball, or the you know, wickets being broken by the corky, as we used to call it. It was intoxicating, and I liked so my progress was actually pretty swift, because all I wanted to do was play cricket. I'd walk around with mum and dad in town shopping, something like that, and I'd be there practicing my bowling action in the time my dad's there, stop it, and all I could do was just practice my bowling action. So that's where the love first sort of started. But I actually, in club cricket back in, my school didn't play cricket. That was the thing. It was a very small school. They only had a couple of football pitches, if that. In fact, they had one football pitch. And so they couldn't really afford to build a cricket pitch or anything like that. So whereas you'll notice a lot of test cricketers and county cricketers go through the sort of public school system because of the facilities that they've got, I didn't. I went through the club system, and also a lot of people go through the club system as well, but that was my route up in Lancashire, where cricket was a hotbed. It really was. The league system in cricket was huge, and I think still is. And so I joined a club called British Aerospace, who were a weapons manufacturer, right? But so they made all the sort of bombs and the planes and stuff like that. But they had a sports site. So for all the workers that worked at the factories, they had a sort of sports and social club. And they had rugby and cricket and tug of war and all of these different aspects. And then they'd all go pile into the social club and have drinks, and that was the sort of nature of it. So they also had a junior section. I went down and started playing, and I was playing sort of first team cricket on a Saturday with the fellas, when I was about 13 years old, against professionals. And I say professionals, not in the sense that all the players were paid, but you had one professional who would play within the side and 10 amateurs, just normal club cricketers, guys who loved it. So some of these professionals were, they were from the West Indies and Australia and all that sort of stuff. So at 13 years old, it was a little bit of an eye-opener. But I got to share the dressing room with blokes, blokes who would swear and would talk about, the dates that they had on Saturday night, or, and they'd drink and stuff like that. And this was like mind-blowing to me. And I don't think that I would be doing what I do now if I hadn't had that upbringing of being around blokes within a dressing room environment, and the laughs and the toing and froing, the banter, if you like, of blokes in that dressing room at 30. And I just sort of, obviously, I was the youngest, so I used to get battered, not physically, They used to take the mick out of me a lot and the like, but that's how you grew, because you started to give it back, and that's how your the dynamic worked. So it was that atmosphere which gave me the love of the game and the pleasure in being not just in the dressing room, but actually being able to do it outside, and that's where it really started for me. In from a playing perspective, a broadcasting perspective is completely different, but I'm sure we'll come on to that.
Yeah. So, and if you can, just share with us some of your most, your favorite memories from the past, and something like
from
that.
Playing?
Yeah, when you just started.
Oh, well, I mean, there was some in club cricket. I mentioned about some of the professionals that we played against. You think about this as a youngster, maybe 13, 14, 15 years old, and the overseas pros that you were coming up against. I mean, you'd be amazed with some of the names. Otis Gibson was an overseas pro. He played at Farnworth Cricket Club. Now, Farnworth is a horrible little area in Bolton, right, in Lancashire. And it's just a little club, but you've got West Indian pro who's coming in, and you're at 14 years old, absolutely just wetting yourself about this ball coming down at you at about 85, 90 miles an hour. You'd never seen anything like it. Brad Hodge played also at Farnworth Cricket Club. Roddy Eswick. We had a pro. I moved then to Horwich Cricket Club in the Bolton League, and we had a pro who opened the bowling for the Windward Islands. His name was Casper Davis. He was electric quick. I mean, he was frighteningly quick. So all of this was a really good grounding. But from very early on, I knew all I wanted to do was be a cricketer. I loved the game so much that, I played all the Lancashire juniors, and, I had some, great teammates that went on to be very, very good cricketers in their own right. I remember going on an under-13s. We were playing an Lancashire under-13s. We were playing up in Newcastle, I think it was.
Okay.
And we took a big coach up to Newcastle from Lancashire, and I'm on the back seat because I was cool. You know, I was big and cool, and I was like, anyway. And who should pop his head over the second to back seat but an 11-year-old Andrew Flintoff?
Oh.
And so Fred. Now you look at the size of the guy now, and you listen to him speak and stuff. Now Fred was this little slight, speaking a bit like this kind of character, and he didn't have a Lancastrian accent. I don't think. I think that's developed over time. But you know what? Even then, you knew how good a player he was. One of my teammates in Lancashire under-13s was a guy called Philip Neville. Now Phil, obviously, went on to play for Manchester United in England and managed
my favorite club.
Team and,
yes.
You know, and Phil, you know, we played a lot of representative cricket together. I will tell you now, best player I've ever seen. He's the best cricketer I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, he is one of the biggest. Gary would have played for England. Gary Neville.
Gary and Phil, and I'm already getting goosebumps because I'm a United fan.
well, you know, we all have our crosses to bear. But you know what? Philip, I have no doubts, would have been an all-time England cricketer. I remember a game we played up at under 14 level, Lancashire versus Nottinghamshire at Durham School, and he was a year down from me, so he was 13 years old. I was 14. At 13, he was opening the batting for Greenmount First 11 in the Bolton League against all these West Indian pros and smashing them. I mean, really, just he played Lanc's second team at 14. You know, this is proper cricket. This is against fully professional sides. And Philip, we played against Notts, and I think they were chasing 250. And our opening batsman, Lee Marland, who went on to be on the Lancashire staff, he never had a big career in cricket, but he signed for Lancashire. He got out in the first over, and Philip and a lad called Mark Chilton, who went on to play for Lancashire for about 10 years, is one of their coaches now, very fine player. Mark Chilton was 60 not out at the end of the game, and Philip was 193 not out.
Oh, wow.
And you're just like, this kid's special. But of course, what do? You can play for Lancashire and earn £50,000 a year playing in front of 1,000 people, or you can play for Manchester United and earn £50,000 a week and play in front of 50,000 people. It's not, the maths isn't hard. So there were some lovely memories. I mean, playing, you know, one of the best days of my life was getting signed. You know, I was a little bit convoluted in my route to professional cricket. I was Lancashire's under-19 player of the year. And so as an all-rounder, I remember one stretch in a week I scored a massive 100, 130 odd, and then took 8 for in a game the following day. And I just naturally assumed, if you look at all the Lancashire under-19 players, you got people like Gary Yates and Michael Atherton and Nick Speake and all players who had a big career with Lancashire. So I just naturally assumed that my contract would come with Lancashire. And they decided not to sign me. Probably a good decision. But back then, I was absolutely devastated. I was mortified that I wasn't going to play for my home county. So I had to, obviously, that was a huge disappointment. I had to get over that. But I was convinced that I was still good enough for county cricket and still wanted to try. So I went to university, actually in Manchester, studied chemistry. And God knows why. But anyway, I did. Don't ask me any chemistry questions now, you won't get an answer.
Don't worry.
But it was, what you then had to do was go round and sort of show your wares to other counties in the hope that they would sign you. So I actually hold a record, and it's not the best record in the world, but I still believe I have played the most games I've played games for the second teams of 13 different counties.
Oh, wow.
And the 5 counties I didn't play for, I actually played against. over a 3-year span. And that was before getting a contract, which I still think is a record. But what it does show you, I think it showed you sort of my persistence and belief that it was something that I could do. And finally, I think just to shut me up, I think Warwickshire gave me a contract. And from there, and that was the best day. Cause I felt like crying on the day because I'd worked really hard. I'd been told no so many times, and Warwickshire gave us a chance. And from there on in, the sort of rest is history. And I signed with my best friend, who is a guy called Alan Richardson, who went on to take 500 first-class cricket wickets. We signed on the same day, and I had 8 or 9 years. Fantastic time of playing county cricket. So, the junior, I loved the game. I played so much cricket that I think it's actually had a detrimental effect on my sort of health, if you like, but more my body. Because I grew very quickly. At 14 years old, I was 6'4". So I grew, and it didn't allow my body to develop. I didn't know this at the time. You just, it's a game of cricket. Brilliant, I'll play. Yay. Yeah. And you go and play. And you go and bowl. In league cricket, this is, you'll like this. I see some bowlers and they go, or the commentators sort of go, well, he's bowled an 11 over spell here. I mean, it's a pretty steady spell, that look. 11 overs? When I was playing league cricket, I used to bowl 25 over spells. Wow. I bowled 25 overs on a Saturday. I bowled 25 overs on a Sunday in one spell, because that's what you were paid to do.
Yes.
You were the pro. So I would have to bowl 25 overs of fast medium. I mean, my God, I was fit. And then I would have to go and bat 3. And that's what you did. And then I would play at a second 11 level, trying to get a contract. So I'd play midweek as well and bowl 50 overs. I remember a stint when I was about 21, where Warwickshire had taken a keen interest, and I was asked to play every second team game. But I also had a job as a league pro. So I'd bowl my 50 overs on a Saturday and a Sunday. I'd bowl 50 overs in the week. In the space of 6 weeks, I probably bowled 600 overs, which is what you had to do. That I wanted a job. I wanted to, but do I regret it? No, not at all. I was playing cricket. These things happen. I don't get sportsmen and women who complain, oh, well, they didn't take care of me of this, and I've got this bad back because I didn't have. No. If you go into professional sport, you know what the pitfalls are. You know that, there's a potential for injury. Last March, it's a year anniversary of my brand new knee that I've had put in. I had a complete full knee replacement last year, just before the virus hit, actually. And I needed that for about 6 or 7 years. It was knackered. It was arthritic. There was no cartilage in there and stuff. But you know what? Would I change that? Do I wish my knee was okay? Yeah. But do I regret bowling all of those overs? No. So that's just what happens. Anyway, I've gone way off the topic there. But that's me.
This is pretty inspirational, and we got to know some brand new things, especially about Philip Neville and all of that. So thanks to you. Special thanks to you. So Charles, all of these years of being involved with cricket, first, as a teenager watching somebody play, then your career, and now back again to watching the game. Is it still exciting for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very lucky. There has been a lot of hard work in there. Just let me say this. There's been a lot of hard work. There's been a lot of sacrifice to get to the level where I am now. Secretly, I was very grateful to have the county career that I did. I had to retire through injury when I was 28. Look, I don't think the world of cricket was that, that missed me that much. My 87 first-class wickets and all of that sort of stuff. But well, I don't think it was a shame because I was just getting to my prime. Yeah. And it took me a while to understand what county cricket was, and I kind of got it then, and I really expected. I had a very good 2004 season. and I expected in 2005 that I would really kick on and have another sort of 7 or 8 years in it. As it turned out, my shins went and I had to retire. But whilst I was at Leicestershire, I started then training to be a broadcaster. Now, it wasn't sexy, it wasn't, but I had someone properly train me. I remember his name was John Shaw. He was a local radio, he worked for Radio Leicester, BBC Radio Leicester, and he covered the cricket just at a local level. And I remember we used to go through scripts in my car when it was raining in a county game. We would sit in his car, we would go through scripts, how to use my voice, how to write scripts, how to edit, how to drive the desk in the studios and all. I got trained properly. And he wouldn't let me on air on the radio. And this is on Radio Leicester. This is not national radio. This is Radio Leicester. He wouldn't let me on air until he thought I was ready. My goodness, I wish there was the same kind of training now for people, because basically now they throw anyone on. And there is an element of training that I think is required when broadcasting, especially on radio. Yeah. But that's just my own opinion. I'm not saying it's the right one. I was lucky to have that. So I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go and shadow him in the studios and watch and learn and take all the information in. Whilst it was wintertime, in the summer, I would play for Leicestershire. So I was developing this new career outside of cricket, but knowing full well that I like entertaining people, and I was a bit of a character when I played, and I like making people laugh, and that's just the sort of type of person I am. So that was an avenue to possibly do that.
I've been having fun. I've been laughing continuously.
You don't have to, and I'm not going to force you to laugh. No, but it was one of those things where when I got my injury, I then had an avenue to go down immediately. So whilst I was still on contract, I was commentating on the lads with bandages on my shins after an operation. Yeah. Because I'd had the training, because I'd worked in it for sort of 2 or 3 years, 3 years in fact. And so it sort of stemmed from there. When my shins didn't get better in the time that I wanted it to, I then just went and did local radio on Radio Leicester. I mean, you might think it's all cricket commentary and stuff. No. I did the breakfast show. I did drive time. So I was doing news and current affairs, and I was clueless, absolutely clueless. So we'd have this major breaking news story. Coming up at 5, we'll have the latest on the MP's expenses. And I'm going, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I was aware, like anybody is aware of the world news, but I don't know. And then we had an hour of sport. So not only that, but it's a little bit like, it's very good training in that there are you're out of your comfort zone. I did a Saturday morning show, just music and me. So I'd be sort of putting on Saturday morning DJ voice. Hi, welcome to BBC Radio Leicester 104.9 FM. We've got Neil Diamond, and we've got some great songs coming up your way. But first, here's Robert Palmer.
You're welcome to sing a couple of lines whenever you want. Thank
you very much. I will not bleed the ears of your watchers or listeners. I mean, music's a massive part of my life as well. Yeah. I mean, I've got my bass over there. I've been playing.
I know that. Yeah.
But I'm not any good, but I like it. But it's where was I? Yes. So not only did I cover the cricket though for Radio Leicester, but in the wintertime I covered Leicester City football, I covered Leicester Tigers rugby, Leicester Riders basketball. So it gave you a really good grounding in different sports which needed different techniques which you could then apply. And I'm only realizing this now, or when I covered cricket full time. But of course, cricket was my love, and I always wanted to be on Test Match Special, right? Because of its nature, its iconic program. And I got, and after commentating on Radio Leicester on Leicestershire games for about 2 or 3 years, they picked me up and sort of went, "Oh, we like what you do. You're a bit different." Don't know what that meant. And you know, and so then they gave me the opportunity to do it on national radio, and weirdly, they liked what I did, and it's given us it's given me a fantastic life. It's also allowed me to then develop in television.
Right.
You know, when Sky Sports turned around and said, "Look, we'd like you to come and do some things for us," I was like, me, you know, and it gives you a little bit of a rubber stamp on your ability. Look, I wasn't the best cricketer, and you'll find that broadcasters around the world, usually they're internationals. And you name me a broadcaster that hasn't played international cricket. You know, there's not many. Or captained their country or something like that. Well, I never did. And so what it tells me is that they like me as a broadcaster, as opposed to what I used to do for a living. Now, it's granted, I know the game because I played it at a high level, but I didn't, you know, I wasn't that good. And so it gives you that little bit of, you know, a lift, knowing that people respect you as a broadcaster. I actually think of the 2 jobs that I've ever had, and I'm determined never to have a proper job in my life. And I was a cricketer, and now I'm a commentator. And if you know, yes, I work hard, and there are long hours, and a lot of prep, and a lot of travel, and all of that sort of stuff. But let's be honest, it's not really a proper job, is it? I'm talking about lads and girls running around a field with a bit and bat and ball. Not really a proper job. So
I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Well, I mean, do you know what? I'm very lucky. Yes, it's taken a lot of hard work and stuff that people won't see. You know, time away from my daughter and seeing her grow up and missing birthdays and Christmases and things like that. But, you know, it's a good gig and it's fun. And I think if you keep that love for it, I actually think of the 2 jobs, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing now. Cricket was a conduit to that. I'm better at this than I was at that. If one has given an opportunity for the other, then great. But you know, I do love what I do, and I take it seriously. In that, yes, I'll have a laugh, and I love having a laugh and having fun because it is fun. We're doing a job that's fun. Cricket and sport is fun. It's not life and death. If anyone tells you it is, it's lies. It is a game we love. It is a game that let me underline that. It is a game. That's what it is. We do it and play it and watch it to enjoy ourselves. It's entertainment. It's not, you know, people sort of say, "Oh, it's life and death." No. Being a nurse, being a doctor, being a fireman, being a police officer in the military or whatever those, you know, that's life and death. That is, you know, don't put it in the same bracket because it's not. Enjoy it, of course. Be passionate about it. Absolutely. Be partisan for your team. Yes, 100%. Discuss it. But it's a game. Let's not build it up to what it's not. And if you approach it like that, you know, I always approach it, you know, I'm doing Derbyshire versus Glamorgan on an absolutely freezing cold night in April. My hands are bitterly cold. I'm shivering. I'd rather be there doing that than anything else in the world. Always love what you do, and I think that is important because it comes out on your commentary. So I honestly can't remember the question you asked me. I've just talked for 15 minutes, which is what I want to do. But no, that's, you know, that's, I think that's an answer to a question. Whether it's the answer to your specific question, I don't know.
It is for sure. It is. And it's a great message for all the young budding cricketers out there as well, in our country, in your country, everywhere around the world. So the next thing that I want to ask you, Charles, is yesterday we celebrated 10 years of India winning the World Cup in 2011. Do you want to maybe throw some light on that World Cup campaign? And also England won it last year. That was also pretty historical. So maybe if you want to just draw some comparison between the two.
Now, in 2011, I had only just started doing TMS. In fact, my first TMS test match special, my first commentary gig was 2012.
Oh.
And that was in an England versus West Indies one-day international down at Southampton. So I didn't cover the 2011 World Cup.
Yeah.
I was still sort of building my reputation at the time. From memory, the biggest memories I had of that, I mean, of all the World Cups, and I go back to a little bit of 87, where I was aware of it, but not really fully, versed in it. The 92 World Cup was my first real World Cup where I was absolutely glued to all of it.
Right.
And then subsequently, 2011, I think, was a watershed moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and I may be wrong here, so I apologize if I do, but for me, that was when the crazy nature of cricket had changed. 2003, I played in the first ever season of T20 cricket.
Yeah.
We won it in 2004 with Leicestershire, and it was all down to me. I was like the best player. No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
And there are some things about Leicestershire and T20 which maybe I've got time to talk about it later. But we'd had 4 years of the IPL.
Yeah.
And what we then saw in 2011 was a transformation in the way that 50-over cricket was played because of 2020. Now, in England, it had been going for, 7 or 8 years. But because of the IPL, other countries were a bit later to the party.
Yeah.
When it came to T20. But that is the first time that even in 2007, the World Cup back then, you were still playing traditional 50-over cricket.
Absolutely.
2011 changed all that. And the way that India played, and the stars like MS Dhoni and Sachin and, Gautam Gambhir in the final and Sehwag and all that.
Yeah.
I played with Sehwag at Leicestershire. What a dude. I love him.
Wow, okay.
And I saw him actually relatively recently. And I thought, will he recognise me? And he turned around and went, "Daggers!" And he flung his arms around.
That's typical Sehwag for you.
And I just thought, oh, what a dude. The worst driver, by the way, in the history of anyone that's got behind a wheel. I thought I'd killed him. The first day he arrived at Leicestershire, I thought I'd killed him. I drove him to his house and I said, he had his own car. And I said, follow me. And he almost cleaned up a big articulated lorry whilst he was driving. I was like, oh my God, I thought I killed him. Anyway, so it was T20 cricket that had really then started to take a hold of the skills within the 2011 World Cup. And I think that was underlined in a couple of ways. Kevin O'Brien beating, his innings beating England in that one, which was, which again had other ramifications of pushing Ireland towards proper status and actually saying, this is a World Cup. Associate nations should be involved. Yeah, they might get battered a bit, but you know what? How else are you going to improve it? This is a World Cup. This is a game for everybody. Bring them in, and give them that experience. And I also think, so I go back to MS Dhoni's innings. That innings was a T20 innings.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, there was a little bit of watchfulness given the situation that he came in at, but his promotion meant the fluidity of the order and that obviously belief and quality that he had. But I genuinely think that was the moment that changed 50-over cricket because of every single country pretty much, like the CPL hadn't been formed properly. I don't think the Big Bash had been sort of formulated as an entity by then, but the IPL had, and T20 cricket had in England.
Yes.
And we were starting to see not just the skills, but the tactics and the approach change. So that's what I remember about 2011. A brilliant World Cup, and I would say arguably still one of the best one-day innings that I've ever seen from MS. I love him as a cricketer. I think there are moments where I just think, come on, mate. You know, like when he charged out, I think he was playing for Chennai, and he charged from the dugout to the middle to talk to the umpire, and I'm like, that's not right. You don't do that. And I still think, as much as I love Virat, there are things that I still think the game is bigger than any given player.
Yeah.
And I still think there has to be respect for umpires and there's all of that sort of stuff. And that comes from everybody. But this is just my opinion. I mean, it's not a slight on Virat, but there's things you do and there's things you don't do.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think, I like a bit of chirp, I like a bit of sledge, I like a bit of aggression in my cricket. But I think, there's sometimes it's just sharp, it's just mindless. And I'm not a nasty person.
Right.
I don't like it when people get called in this or in that. Or there's, don't mind a bit of aggression.
Yeah.
Don't mind that at all. But anyway, I'm going off topic. So that was a brilliant World Cup, and that was the moment, like I say, that we saw T20 start to eke into 50-over cricket. Now, what you're seeing is a complete 50-over cricket still has its place. Yes, it can be still very tactical. But this, I think, what I would like to see is a slight change. England have actually set the benchmark now, I believe.
Right.
With the way that they won the T20 World Cup, with aggressive cricket, with hard hitting up front, that's all T20. Basically, they have taken 2020 and it just extended it. And
even the recent 50-over World Cup, I mean, that's
exactly what they've done. They just attack. You look at the recent one-day series against India. They just smash it from ball. Now, does that necessarily serve you well in a 50-over game? Maybe not. But it's worked for them. That actually started with New Zealand and Brendan McCullum's approach to one-day cricket, which England took on board and took it to the next level.
Right.
Now, what I would like to see is it be a bit different than great that England won the World Cup. They've been trying for it so long, and in the manner it was, there's a lot of, but I like that. I like the fact that New Zealand still think they were robbed because we talk about it. India like having a go.
Come on, I mean, it was a bit harsh on New Zealand, don't you think?
No. Of course it was. But that's why we love the game, because we talk about it, and you'll have your opinion, I have my opinion. We don't hate each other for having the opinions we have. It's just a game. So it's fine to believe. What I find now, and especially, and again, I am going off topic, but I'm going to make this clear. This is what I'm finding on social media now, and I'm finding it tiresome and I'm finding it toxic. You and I can disagree.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
We're allowed to disagree. We can talk about it over a drink. We can have a meal and still not come to the same conclusion. And I can have my say and you can have your say. And we then go, we'll agree to disagree and we leave it. Social media doesn't allow that. It's attack. It's attack and it's abuse and I don't like it. Who does? But it's a platform for people to just go, I'm going to react to someone, you turn around and say, New Zealand should have won that World Cup. And I go, oh my God, he's so wrong. And I'm going to type something stupid in the first, and send, there you go. And you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to worry, because in that 10 seconds of getting so het up, you're going to type something and you don't care what it is. Well, take a breath.
Yeah.
Just take a breath, have a think about it and say, do you know what? They've got a point. I might not agree with it. But you know what? But now it's just reactionary, and I don't know. Maybe I don't like it. Anyway,
Me neither.
It's by the by. I wish people would think before typing something, and sort of saying, accepting that people have different ideas, and saying you can have your opinion and I can have mine, and that's fine. Let's still live our lives and enjoy the game and all that. Anyway, that's by the by. So yes, I think now what I would like to see in 50 over cricket is maybe a change in the ball that they use. I'd like bowlers to have, now I'm a bowler, but when I played one day cricket, we used the Duke's white ball, which swung. It swung and then reverse swung later on. So bowlers then could have a little bit more of an opportunity. By the way, it was like a brick. I mean, it was so hard. You know, my old teammate Trevor Penny at Warwickshire, I remember bowling on my debut with a Duke's white ball against Robin Smith. And I kept bowling short and wide to Robin Smith. And he was at backward point and he cut me 6 times straight to Trevor Penny. And Trevor Penny's hands were like, they were just bulging at the end of it because this brick kept hitting him at about 90 miles an hour. So can we come up with slightly better pitches, maybe pitches that turn a bit more, maybe pitches that seem a bit more like Test cricket, where there is an opportunity to have a little bit more balance between bat and ball? Because then what I think you're getting is a genuine Test cricket format, a genuine 50 over format, which tests your techniques and skills, but in one day, and then 2020, where basically anything goes. And you know, the whole idea of T20 cricket, when it was invented in 2003, when it came to us, we were the first ones to ever play it. The whole idea was entertainment, was runs, was sixes, was fours. And that was the whole point of it. So kids could come in and go, wow, this is brilliant. Now, that's not necessarily great if you're a bowler, but that was we got the concept. That is the concept. Anyone who says that a T20 game of 110 versus 100 is a good game is talking utter garbage. That's not what the game was there for. It was there for big sixes, big entertainment, music, razzmatazz, all of that sort of stuff. It really was. It was the WWE of cricket, and that's what the IPL genuinely took it to. We started it. We had some great ideas. We did all sorts of weird and wonderful and daft things, but the IPL took it to what it should have been. And pitches are critical to that. If they're flat and they score 200, that's what 2020 was about. So I'd like to see a little bit of a difference in 50 over cricket.
Right. So absolutely, I agree with you. And a lot has changed since 2011. Since the 2011 World Cup, we've seen the emergence of 4 major batsmen, the Fab Four, as we like to call them. Who's your favorite? And do you think we should probably give Babar Azam a shout as well?
Yeah, I think we should. I think he's a quality player. He needs more experience.
Yeah.
I think he has the talent to break into that 5 if you incorporate him into it. He's a serious player, Babar Azam. He's proper. I'd hate to bowl at him. But I think, now this is going to, I could play the game here. Okay. I could play the game knowing that this is an Indian podcast or an Indian podcast or whatever, and just go, I'll have Virat Kohli.
Be as honest as possible.
Now, of course you'd have it. I mean, this is look, you're talking about Steve Smith, Joe Root, Kane Williamson, and Virat Kohli. Now, who would I have? Now, this is who I would have. I'd have either of them. If you give me that option, I would take any of them. I would, if you're talking about a 3-format cricketer, I think you actually probably narrow that down to 2.
Okay.
And you talk about Williamson and Virat.
Spot on.
I think Steve Smith, has got limitations in 2020 cricket. I still think he's a very good one-day player and all of that. It's brilliant. And I think Joe Root in the T20 game is still a fine player, but I don't think you can put those guys in the same class as Williamson and Kohli. I would have Williamson. And it's not an aesthetic thing. I think he, as a player, his ability to score runs around the world, and everyone's going to come back and say, oh, Virat scores runs around. Yes, he does. Of course he does. Against the swinging ball, his record isn't as good, which is completely understandable.
Yeah.
It's still pretty good, let's be honest. But I think Williamson's technique lends itself to just any condition. I think he is so good. It's ridiculous. I think he's a wonderful player.
My favorite batsman.
I would hate to bowl at him.
Yeah.
And the reason is he plays, and I know this is very boring, but he plays with a slightly angled bat.
Right.
And as a bowler, you think, well, he's going to nick off. He's going to nick off. He's got an angled bat. He's giving me a chance. I'll swing it away and I'm going to nick him off. But you don't. You don't nick him off. And he just guides it down. The thing is, he looks to me like of all of the batsmen, he's the one who seems to have the most time.
Yeah.
And that's what greatness is time. And look, if I think that Virat's, or if Kane is here, Virat's like there, which it's an impossible pick. I get really frustrated. Again, I'm talking back to social media. Who's best, Jimmy Anderson or Dale Steyn? And we have this massive discussion of who's best. And I go, why do you care?
Yeah.
Aren't they both great? So can you not just enjoy both of them?
Absolutely.
So who's best? And you go, oh, I think Kane Williamson. Well, what's wrong with Virat? What's wrong with Babar Azam? And I say, well, I didn't say I didn't like that. I like them all. It's just who I would pick. So instead of who's best, can I not just say all of them are just ace? And I love watching all of them play. And they have got skills to die for. They make the game beautiful and why we enjoy it so much. Let's not have this silly comparison. So I saw something on God, I was crying laughing. I was watching the England-India series on TV back in the UK.
Yeah.
And someone said it's part of the commentary. And I go, what? And it was, who would you rather have in your side?
Okay.
Ravi Ashwin or Ben Stokes? Who's the better all-rounder? And I went, what? What kind of question is that? Well, if I'm in India, I'd probably want Ravi Ashwin because he's a brilliant bowler in India.
Yeah.
If he's in England, I might want Ben Stokes. If it's over in Australia, dunno. One of them's a spinner, one of them's a seamer, one of them's a batsman, and one of them's not as much a batsman. It's stupid, pointless. And I have to say, Indian TV can be a little guilty of this.
Yeah.
Of sort of saying, pointless to just get in touch with. No, I know they want the hits and they want the clicks and the likes and all of that stuff, but come on. Just what was the oh, this is what cracked me up. I'll tell you this. It's made me laugh. Oh dear, I love. Do you remember in the World Cup of Australia World Cup to 2015?
Yeah.
And
I can't wait to hear this.
It makes me laugh so much because people come up with what they think are good ideas, and I'm just going, what? They did for batsmen. They did this thing called the hot zone or the strike zone. Right. Where a batsman is most prolific. Right. And they sort of had infrared, from Hawkeye, where the bowler would bowl and where the batsman is most productive. And also their strong zone and their weak zone. That's what they had, strong zone and weak zone. Yeah. So, funnily enough, their strong zone was wide outside of off stump or leg side half volleys. Right? So I'm looking at these two zones and going, yeah, well, if you bowl out there, he's going to smash it. Of course. The weak zone, guess where the weak zone, I'll give you, where was the weak zone of most batsmen?
The full deliveries?
Well, on and around the top of off stump.
Yeah, around off stump, yes.
Right.
The fourth stump.
Bowlers are taught to hit the top of off stump.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I'll tell you where let me just go. Oh, well, Kane Williamson has a real weak zone, and it's the away swinging delivery on a good length on the top of off stump. Well, of course it is.
Of course.
It's the most. Just going. Well, of course. What is this adding to your coverage? Oh, well, I'll tell you what. He really struggles with the absolute 90-mile-an-hour in-swinging Yorker. Oh, really? Of course.
Who wouldn't?
This is not rocket science.
Yeah.
So some things I think you can think. They think, and this is not. This is TV in general. They've come up with this gadget and this toy, and they think, how can we use it? And then they say, yes, well, strong zone, weak zone. Well, his weak zone is outside of off stump. In fact, if you go down the list, the batting order of Australia, you'll find that all of them have a weakness at the top of off stump. Anyway, it's something that made me laugh, and they did it every single match. Yeah. I'm like, leave it out, come on. anyway, so yeah.
Now, so I've got tons of questions for you because I'm having a lot of fun, but I know you have a busy schedule.
Let's hit them hard. We've got like about 7 or 8 minutes. Let's hit them hard.
I know you have a busy schedule, so I'll just end this on a high note. And I know this question will probably mean a lot to you. So if you could share your favorite Ashes memory with me.
Ashes memory?
Yes.
Ooh. God, there's a lot.
Yeah.
I think Ashes are about moments.
Yeah.
Individual moments. And they're full of them. You think of going back to, I think it was 91, Shane Warne's ball to Mike Gatting at Old Trafford. That's an Ashes moment, his arrival on the scene.
Yeah.
You think of Joffrey. From there, you think of, or you go even further back to Ian Botham hitting Merv Hughes for 6 first ball in Brisbane.
Right.
You go back to 81 and Bob Willis coming down the hill at Headingley. And Botham taking 5 for 1 at Edgbaston in 1981. David Gower's hundreds in 85. These are full of moments. I think obviously 2005, Freddie's over to Ricky Ponting. Best, right. Apart from Michael Holding to Geoffrey Boycott, I think that's the best over in Test cricket history. It was ridiculous. I think Simon Jones, his delivery to Michael Clarke in that 05 Ashes.
Yeah.
You fast forward to Jofra Archer's spell against Steve Smith. That was at Lord's. That was the most compelling Test cricket I think I've seen in so long. Guys bowling 97 miles an hour.
Yeah.
He bowled 25 overs before that.
And imagine the commentator saying that that's his weak spot.
Yeah. I find that facing 97 miles an hour is my weak spot as well, especially when it's coming right between my eyes. I think it's full of Ashes moments. There are great moments. Mitchell Johnson cleaning up the earth. There are too many to genuinely pick out one. There's so many of them. It is a huge deal, the Ashes, worldwide, but for England and Australia. Ben Stokes at Headingley, crazy, for sure. So there are so many. I think if I had to pull out one, it was my first, the 86-87 Ashes. One of my best friends is Philip de Freitas, and he's godfather to my daughter. His performances and his stories from 86-87, Elton John coming to join the lads on tour. It was proper rock and roll cricket kind of thing.
For sure.
Beefy with his long hair and Gladstone Small and all of those types of people. And I think the 86-87 series was fabulous. But so many Ashes moments, so much great cricket,
Absolutely. Well, Charles,
bash out. Have you got questions? Have you written them down?
I have. If you want, I'll just throw it at them.
Bash them out, and let's do some 3 minutes of quick fire.
Rapid fire. Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
come on. So, your greatest moment as a commentator and as a player?
Champions Trophy final as a commentator, Pakistan versus India. Sorry, Indian fans. But I did a spell. I was on Test Match Special doing the spell of Mohammed Amir getting Virat out, getting I think it was Shikhar Dhawan out first. I think. Don't quote me on that. And then I did it later when Dhoni got out, and the atmosphere was ridiculous. And as a commentator, I'm very harsh on myself and my standards. And I actually came off that day and went, "Oh, I was quite good that day." I nailed that. That was my favourite moment in commentary as a player. Probably my 4 for 22 against Nottinghamshire in the T20 in 2004. Got Kev out first ball, bowled well. That year of 2004 was my favourite as a player.
And your views about the soft signal thing that's been used by umpires these days?
My God, get rid. I hate the soft signal. How can someone give a soft signal from a million miles away? I mean, it's stupid. I think DRS in the main is good. I actually think it is good. I still sometimes wonder about the ball that his umpires call. You can sort of say, well, one bloke gives it out and the same bloke gives it not out. So how can the same ball be out or not out?
Exactly.
However, recently Nasser Hussain did a very good piece on it on Sky, and it's still, this is what we've still got to remember, it is still at the discretion of an umpire. And as it was prior to DRS, it's an opinion. It's a guess. And that is what I've got to keep remembering. It just put that to bed for me. It is a guess. It is not scientifically accurate. So it can be out or not out depending on the umpire. So that's fair enough. But the soft signal could do one.
And one last question before we let you go. Are you excited about the IPL?
Yeah, I am. And there's
any favorites that you have?
Oh, I don't know. I've always had a strange kind of bond. I have no reason for this.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the cricket. I do. I would love to go out and commentate on it. I actually think I'd be quite good at it.
For sure.
Because, well, it's just fun. It's so much fun.
It's a festival. It's a festival in India.
Yeah. How can you not love it? It's bonkers and it's fabulous and it's noisy and it's rich and it's cricket. And it's the IPL have got so much right. I think they've got a lot wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think the length of games is ridiculous. The whole idea was supposed to be a short, compact game. Now I know advertisers and TV and blah, blah, blah. But 4 hours for a game of T20. If I'm a dad in India and I want to take my kids and it's finishing at midnight local time, now I know it's just a personal thing. I wouldn't take my kids to something that finishes at midnight. The next day.
For sure.
Anyway, that's by the way. So yes, I'm looking forward to it because obviously, the IPL last time wasn't really the same because it was in Dubai. There was no crowds and it was a bit kind of rubbish. And even though the cricket was good, cricket without crowds isn't the same. We've been lucky that we've been entertained during COVID with cricket, but let's be honest, of course it's not the same.
Absolutely.
I want to see the flares and the noise and the excitement and the children enjoying themselves at the game. I've always had a sort of strange, weird, I love it, I do. I'm surprised at some of the IPL auction will always amaze me. Because I'll actually go, you bought him for $1.4 million. And look, it's not the player's fault. If I'm the player and someone turns around to them and says, "Oh, we signed you for $1.4 million," I'm going, but brilliant. But I do wonder about some of the sort of selections that do get picked and think, how have you missed out on this guy? And how have you missed out on this guy? This guy's brilliant. Anyway, owners want what they want. And that's why we love it, because we talk about it. That's just my opinion. But it might be for yours. But I'm hoping, I don't know actually, I'm hoping that crowds are allowed back for the IPL this year and we can get a normal one in. I hope that is the case. I actually don't know what the latest is.
We're still deciding on that, and I'm sure there'll be some news on it pretty soon.
Let's hope, and let's hope everyone's safe. That's the first thing. We want people to be safe.
Absolutely.
I don't know whether it's the yellow of Chennai or if it's MS Dhoni. I don't know what it is. I don't support anyone.
Right.
I like to see how the English players are doing. I like to see them perform well.
Full season for them this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And there'll be a lot, and I'm not going to get into it. There'll be a lot of, oh well, he should be playing for England. He should be. I'm not getting into that. I have my opinions on it, and I think, well, I have my opinions on it. I'm not going to get into it.
Right.
Because it causes too much stress.
Yeah.
Charles Dagnall says that. Let's just enjoy it. And if they're there, that's for people on a higher pay grade to decide whether they should be there or that. If they're there, accept that they're there and enjoy them. And if they're not there, we'll enjoy somebody else.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because it's proper. Again, we're back in India. And like I say, I hope the crowd. So I don't support anyone. I like seeing great cricket. I like seeing cricket played in front of fantastic atmospheres. I would love to be a commentator on the IPL on the television out there.
We would love to have you.
Because, well, then why am I not doing it? No.
That's not what. Putting me in the spot there.
Write a letter to Narendra Modi and see if he can pull a few strings and get me. No, I'm kidding.
I'm gonna send him a link to this interview, and he'll probably just get a little too impressed and get both of us on board. He'll get both of us on board.
I totally agree. I think the IPL would be better served with us being on there. But no, I think I don't have an affinity to any IPL team. I couldn't tell you who I think is gonna win. I just like watching really good cricket, and I can't wait for it to start. I can't wait for the summer to start here, for county cricket to start, for the Test series and for the women's internationals. This is where I think just very quickly, last thing, and I'm going to go because I need a shower. And I think the BCCI, and stop the phone. You can quote me on this. I think the BCCI need to up their game regarding women's cricket.
Right.
They've got a lot of money.
Right.
And I cover a lot of women's cricket. I've done it for 10 years. And it is about time that a women's IPL was brought in. Domestic structure needs to be better. In India, they've got the money. They're not short. Let's be honest. They've got a lot of money.
A lot of money,
And even though we see fantastic talents, Harmanpreet Kaur and Smriti Mandana and Mithali Raj and Jalan Goswami and my favourite cricketer Deepti Sharma, I love her.
Right.
And she's a fabulous bowler. But Jemima Rodriguez and all of these players, you're still getting the talent, but I genuinely think there is a market for it. And I think the BCCI need to stick their hand in a pocket. And it's not going to cost them a massive amount, and they've got tons of money, and I would like to see that. We've seen it in the UK. We've seen Women's Big Bash. I would like to see the BCCI be proactive and say, right, we love, we do all these things for the IPL. It's about time the women had a similar competition. But that's just me.
No, absolutely. I agree with you.
The BCCI.
I agree with you.
I would like to see it because it isn't like they're short of cash.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's because I want a commentary game. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So yes.
So I'll let you go now. And Charles, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did.
Yeah, very much so. Been great talking to you. I'll come on again whenever you like.
Yes, and just a little message for our subscribers that don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video, and do check out our website for amazing content and great articles on cricket, football, and all types of sports. And Charles did really help me with that one. So see you on the other side. Right there.
There.
Everywhere, absolutely everywhere.